Hi, thanks you everyone for spending your time with us. I know that your time is incredibly important right now with everyone getting ready for the holidays. So we really appreciate you taking the time to get a little sneak peek of the Startup Marketer State of Marketing report. One thing to note is whether you're watching this live or you're watching this in the recording, we are so excited to be able to share this with you. But the main thing to note is we want to make sure that the report really encapsulates the voice of the startup community. So there's going to be a couple CTAs during this presentation to walk you through what we currently have, where we would love to include your voice, and how you can have a bigger role in the rollout and creation of the Startup Marketing State of report. Perfect. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and we will go ahead and get this taken care of. All right. So what we have here is I'm just going to go through, this is just in a Canva doc already. So if you are interested in getting a copy of this in view only, I will share this with the community so that you can go in, you can add comments and really be able to look at this beyond just this presentation. So regular page one title, nothing crazy here. We have our table of contents here, and we're going to reflect the page numbers once it's finalized. So don't obviously want to do that just yet, but this is a really great way of seeing the breakdown that we currently have. And I'm going to tell you at the end of the call a section that we are going to be adding that I think is also going to be something very worthwhile and an opportunity for you to share your thoughts, your perspective, and any sources that you have that could really amplify this messaging. So the main thing here is just an introduction and really kind of stating what this report is all about and what it's for, why it's going to be a guide for new and experienced marketers, and really kind of encapsulate everything that we're seeing when it comes to insights and trends, but also what is the state of marketing now, but also from the perspective of the startup marketer themselves. What are the challenges they're facing? What are they seeing in the marketplace? What are they worried about for next year? What are they excited about for next year? We want to make sure that we're really covering that voice so it's helpful for others. But more importantly, if you're a startup marketer, we want you to read this report and for you to feel empowered, for you to feel seen and heard, and then for you to feel like you have actions that you can actually take starting next year so that you're really setting yourself up for success. So here's an introduction. This is a little bit more of why we're doing this and why it's important. But the main thing to look at here is this section right here with the startup marketer community. We want to make sure that your voice is covered in this. We want to make sure that if you are part of the community, whether you are a lurker or you're a passive member or you are actively engaged and commenting and liking all the things that are in there, that you feel like your perspective is represented here. So there's going to be multiple opportunities for you to either share a quote or to share resources or to basically let us know like, hey, I don't think this hit the mark. I think you're missing stuff. I think there's other opportunities that you just didn't really cover. I'm seeing this stuff at work and it's not really reflected in this report. We want all the feedback, good, bad, ugly, to make sure that this is truly reflective of the voice of the community. So to get started, here are some key insights. And we found three major things that we think all startup marketers are aware of and need to be focusing on for next year. We have video-centric content, and this is more of an evolution. Video content isn't going anywhere. It's certainly not anything new. However, it is important to note that we are seeing an evolution of this, specifically from short form content to long form content. Not only do we have people who are worried about the potential TikTok ban in the United States, but we also have more and more companies really kind of setting themselves up for success. We see YouTube has YouTube Shorts, but we're seeing more and more engagement on YouTube as a whole with this long form content. And there's been a ton of resources and documentation this year about a lot of people talking about the real engagement they're seeing is actually from long form content. So as we're going from short to long, what does that look like? What do you need to be thinking about? What distribution channels and strategies do you need to be thinking about for next year? All of those incredibly important. Now, one thing to keep in mind is obviously we could not create this report without discussing AI. It's absolutely the elephant in the room. We're all facing it in positive and negative ways. We're seeing how it's transforming our work in a great way. We're also seeing how it's creating scarcity in job placement, and it's making us worry about what it's going to look like next year. It's still a massive disruptor. And while we want to make sure that AI is covered in this report, we don't want this report to be just beginning and end AI, and that's the only thing you need to worry about. startup marketers need to worry about a multitude of things. And so AI is going to have a very prominent place in this, but it is not going to be the end all be all for everything that we discuss in this report. Then evergreen, we have data-driven decisions. At the end of the day, this is not going anywhere. Data-driven decisions has been important for years. It's going to continue to be that way. I know that Mac has talked about in the past where as she's talking to people, they want things to be measured. They want to know why things are like, you said this works, but where's the data to support it? And so thinking about this, the data-driven decisions element is evergreen. It's not going anywhere. It's going to continue to be a major force, a major trend, and something to think about when you're talking to leadership, when you're trying to get buy-in for ideas, and when you're thinking about how you can execute next year in a profitable and scalable way. And then some pieces here when we're looking at the marketing budget. So in 2024, the marketing budget was 7.7% of revenue, which is actually down from 9% of revenue in 2023. So in thinking about that, is that reflective of your experience? Is that how you were able to see it? Did you actually lower your revenue budget setup, or did you see any other changes with this? Maybe it's we decided to take that additional percentage and actually put it towards a different channel or a different department, or we scaled down as a whole. Would love to know your thoughts on that and see if you're seeing that same pattern. And then time spent a week on marketing. 50% of startups spent 2 hours or less. And as more and more companies are starting to integrate AI, I would be interested in learning more about if you're seeing that and if you're actually seeing that the hours that you're using or that the team as a whole is using in marketing, is that going down? And then thinking about the top skills for startup marketers, not only do you want to stay a unicorn in your own space and be seen as a thought leader and seen as a strong contributor to your team, not only for your career, but also for job safety, if that's even a thing anymore, you need to be thinking about what you bring to the table so that you can be seen as a valuable member of the team and also potentially be hired if you're currently looking in the space. And so this is a breakdown of the top skills that we saw that were wanted for startup marketers. So it's strategic thinking, digital marketing, financial literacy, user acquisition, technical skills, business strategy, project management, continuous learning, storytelling, and data analysis. And I think one thing that's incredibly important to think about here is that if you look at this whole list and what people want startup marketers to have, you're seeing this umbrella, this holistic idea of what startup marketers need to know. And it's very much well-rounded. They need you to be a well-rounded marketer, and then maybe you have a specialization in something. So that T-shaped marketer concept is very much alive and well for startups. Then we have some data points here. Not a lot of these are going to be too surprising, but we've seen mobile devices now generate 55% of all website traffic globally. 94% of marketers use social media for content distribution. And then email marketing has a 2.8 to 2.4% conversion rate for B2C and B2B respectively. 59.6% of startups have a dedicated marketing team. It's going to be interesting to see if you, and would love your feedback here too, do you have a specific dedicated marketing team for your side, for your startup? And if so, what does that look like? And how long did it take them in their startup life cycle before they decided they needed a specific marketing team established and developed? And then 22% of startups that fail attribute that to their marketing strategy, which is really interesting. What does that look like? When you say it failed and that's because of marketing, what does that look like? So would love your thoughts there. And then 88% of personal recommendations and referrals are trusted by 88% of consumers. Not surprising. We want to believe other humans. We don't trust brands, we trust humans. And as more and more AI is being utilized, I think we're going to continue to see that voice of the customer, those reviews, those recommendations are going to be held in even higher regard because we know we can trust a human. This AI could be spouting out. I don't know if it's accurate or not. I don't know where it's coming from. And so I think as we continue to look into 2025, you're going to start seeing that be even more true. Now, we have a survey that is, if you haven't had a chance to do it, this is another great opportunity for you to make sure that your experience is encapsulated into this report. So you will find a survey. You should have seen it in a newsletter, and I will make sure the team puts it in the community and in the chat here. But it's a huge opportunity for you to be able to share your experience. Is AI a part of your startup? How many years have you been in startup marketing, as well as What are the biggest challenges that you're facing? What's taking the most of your budget? All of these kind of questions so that we can really showcase the importance of community. You'll also see, if you follow us on LinkedIn, and if you haven't, you absolutely should start doing that. You'll see some other questions that are poll questions that will be added to the report as well. Another great opportunity for you to make sure that you are reflecting your experience in this report for the state of startup marketing. And then disruptions. This is probably my favorite part. It's a breakdown of some of the disruptions that we've talked about in the past and earlier in the chapter. But more importantly, it really kind of dives in a little bit deeper into what we're talking about. So obviously AI is going to be a massive disruptor and is continuing to be a disruptor across verticals, across companies of all sizes. But we really want to talk about how it is focusing and really disrupting startups as a whole. You are a small team, you might even be a team of one. And because of everything that you're doing with startups, it's a lot of the work just has to get done. And so you're probably using AI in order to make your job easier, more efficient, so you can spend more time on this stuff that needs to have more of a human touch. All of that's great and suffice to say, but it's important to note that the AI beast, genie, whatever you want to call it, it's not going to go back into the lamp. We can't do that. We can't like unbottle that. But what we can do is make sure that we are keeping tabs and we are prepared as this is starting to explode. And so what you'll see here are 3 different diagrams created by Sequoia Capital, a VC firm. And what they've done is they've broken down the generative AI application landscape or the market map. And so this is their V1, V2, and V3, and this is just since 2022, and this is just generative AI. This is not talking about all of the other AI tools here. So this is a really great representation of how it's really exploded since late 2022 and how you could have had a product that you found last year that was absolutely fantastic. And now you have like 5 or 6 other opportunities or competitors that you can now choose from. And so it's very difficult to stay up to date with AI and what its use cases are and integrations and how it's going to be able to help you do your job better. But this is a huge opportunity for you to showcase that this disruption is only becoming more and more of a big deal. Next, we have shifting consumer behaviors and smart audiences. At the end of the day, our consumers and just the regular people who are on social, who are checking our emails, who are going on our websites, they're smarter. They've seen that personalization that where you use smart contacts to be able to make sure that their first name is at the beginning of an email. That really doesn't count as personalization anymore because we know what that is. Now that is the new standard. That's where the bar is now. So real personalization needs to be above that. When we're thinking about this, we need to be thinking about the customer experience and what their expectations are, as well as what their current experience is around everything they're seeing. So they're wanting more and more smart opportunities. They're wanting more opportunities to engage online. And what does that look like? And as you're using AI, like we just talked about, trust is going to become an even bigger issue and something to really consider. So when we're thinking about these consumer behaviors, they're smarter. They know what a lot of our tactics are. They may not know what the tactics are called, but they know what it looks like. They know how it's presented to them, whether it's in their inbox or whether it's on a digital shelf or whether it's in a store or retail environment. They know. They've seen it multiple times now. Then we have the rise of the competitive social platforms. So with Elon taking on Twitter and renaming it and rebranding it X, we've seen an uptick in these competitive platforms coming to the surface. So we have Blue Sky and we have Mastodon and we have Threads. We have all of these different opportunities that are coming up. And as you have more, it makes consumers excited that now they can go somewhere else. But for marketers, that's just one more distribution channel they have to be aware of. That's one more thing that they have to keep tabs on in terms of algorithm. It's one more platform that they have to moderate. And so it can be quite difficult. So we have a linked article here, and it basically has someone go through all the different things and really break down those individual platforms to highlight what their experience was, what they think is more of like a one-to-one replacement for Twitter versus here's the things that are different, but I liked it, or here are the things that are different, but I didn't really care for that. So it's a huge opportunity for you to learn a little bit more. And then we dive even more into that with the Twitter/X, Blue Sky, and Threads, because these 3 tend to be the big ones that people are talking about. We're seeing a massive uptick in Blue Sky users, and there's even a current real-time ticker so that you can actually see the users as they're being added. But one thing we would love to hear is, you can see the insert quotes here, would love your thoughts. Did you stay on Twitter? If so, why? If you migrated to Blue Sky or Threads, do you have a favorite? If so, what are your observations and where are you seeing it utilized? What do you think is going to be the most beneficial for you personally, maybe for your business, maybe for your startup? And is there a difference in those answers? And if so, why? So anything that you would like to share with us, we would love to make sure that your thoughts are featured in this specific section. And then we have VC perspective. So obviously the startup marketer is doing all this stuff because we not only want user acquisition, we want to build revenue, we want to make our founders happy, but theoretically, depending on the life cycle of your startup, you're probably going to be talking to VCs and you want to make sure that they are happy too. What are they looking for in terms of success? So in looking at these, we have key things that VCs are going to be looking at to determine the health of a startup and whether or not they want to invest. So they're going to be looking at brand cultivation. They're going to be looking at market presence, scalability, product market fit, expertise, community building, acquisition and sustainability, and a path to profitability. None of those are too surprising, but it's really great to have them in one place so that you're able to really kind of realize, are there any weak spots? Are there any spots that you think aren't a good fit for you or should be utilized in a different way? And then two big things to note is that D2C funding is actually down quite significantly. There was a massive D2C bubble, direct to consumer bubble, especially around COVID and the pandemic, because it shifted how we were buying things in public and buying things in person to buying things online. And so that bubble makes a lot of sense. And since we have opened up the world again, we're seeing that the DTC numbers have faltered. And so with that, VCs are not investing as much into D2C startups. Additionally, there is a global venture capital funding is at $94 billion as of 2024 from Bain Capital. And you'll see that there are notes and resources here cited, but just showing you that it's not that they're not funding startups, they've shifted. So there's still plenty of money to go around. So thinking about if your startup is looking at VC funding, it's definitely worth noting that the global VC fund is very much alive and well. And then resources. We know that it's incredibly hard to stay up to date with all of these things. So we wanted to create essentially a resource center of things that you can be looking at or things that you may not know about to make it easier for you. So we have newsletters, we have experts that we're going to continue to add here. If you have any thoughts on experts that you absolutely love or any newsletters that you're a part of that you're getting that you think are absolutely fantastic and are keeping you on top of things and up to date, we would love to include those as well. We have the community. Obviously, the startup marketer is first because we're very proud of our community and we think it is a great opportunity for people to learn from each other. And then Grow Together, you'll see ADP List, which is a mentorship opportunity, and Startup School, which is from the Y Combinator. It's a free course that you can take if you're thinking about starting your very own startup. And then another opportunity to make sure your voice is heard is we realize that startup marketers are tired. You're all counting the days until the holidays. You have a much deserved break coming up. And we do want to talk about the other elephant in the room. We talked about AI being one elephant. The other big elephant is burnout. Especially since the pandemic, marketers have been struggling. They have to be constantly on, they're constantly working, they're seeing all this doom and gloom around them, but they still have to meet their quotas, they still have to meet their deadlines, they still have to make sure that they're really hitting their KPIs and doing everything they need to do. And so that can lead to quite significant burnout. So we would love to learn from you and have your thoughts on, are there any coping mechanisms that's helped you? Do you have any thoughts on burnout as a whole, especially in the startup world and how it's impacted you, it's impacted your company, whatever you're willing to share? It's also worth noting that any of these quotes do not have to have your name. So if you'd rather have them posted and be a part of this anonymously, that is also a consideration. So don't feel like you have to tattle on yourself if you want to share something, but you don't want to have your name attached. And then underneath this, you will see the Yerkes-Dodson law. This is a really great resource that we've been able to find recently, and it's a huge opportunity to really kind of showcase the connection between stress and performance. Because burnout isn't just bad on you, but it also does directly impact your performance. And so thinking about where you are in that bell curve is a really great way for you to start visualizing what level of burnout that you're at and when and how you need to start taking steps to be able to help you. And then with that, we have our closing page talking about the startup marketer community, and then if anyone is ready to join. So with that, if you are on the call, we would love to know any questions that you have, any feedback, good, bad, ugly, and how we can make this report more indicative of your personal experiences as a startup marketer. And with that, I will stop sharing my screen.